This is my guide for first-time buyers and some top tips as to what to look out for. My first tip would be not to commit to anything until you're 100% ready to do so yourself. So that means seeing a mortgage advisor, making sure your finances are in place, and to ensure that you don't spend any money unnecessarily on surveying things as well. So to save you time and money, make sure you're ready beforehand. My next tip would be to be aware of conditional selling. If an agent says that you have to use their solicitor or you have to use their mortgage advisor in order for your case to be put forward, then this is illegal and you can report them to the property ombudsman. My next tip would be to ensure that you keep some money aside for your stamp duty, extra mortgage fees and solicitor fees as well, as that can all add up as an extra cost. My next top tip would be to take someone who has experience buying a property before with you on any viewings, just so you get a second opinion on things and you don't miss anything. My next tip would be to try not to be put off if property just needs a little bit of cosmetic work. As long as there's nothing structurally wrong with the property, then little bits like painting and changing carpets can be easily fixed. So one question I get asked a lot is, what's the difference between a leasehold and a freehold property? A freehold property is essentially where you own the house and the land that the house sits on, whereas a leasehold property is where you essentially leasing a portion of the land which the flat resides on. One thing to be mindful of leasehold properties is to take note of how long is left on the lease. So a lot of mortgage companies wouldn't lend on a property if there's less than, say, 70 or 80 years remaining on the term of the lease. So you may not be able to get a mortgage on the property. So the last thing to be mindful of leasehold properties is to always ask the agent how much is the ground rent and service charges, just so you can factor that into your budgets when you're looking to buy. My next tip is, if you find a property that you like, then get familiar with the area. So speak to the neighbours, as they're likely to give you a much truer opinion as to what the road is like other than the agent who is trying to sell you the house. My next tip would be to ensure that you're 100% committed to buy a property before you put an offer forward, because then you would start paying for your searches and surveys, which is money that you wouldn't be able to get a refund for if you decided to withdraw. My final tip would be to consider what type of survey you would like to be carried out when buying a property. The first one is a mortgage survey. Now this is mandatory if you're getting a mortgage anyway. This is just when someone from the bank comes and checks over the property and makes sure it's worth the value you're paying. The second one is a home buyer's report, which is a little bit more in depth. It checks the appliances, the electricals and all the interior features of the property. The last survey type is a full structural survey. Now this is normally only carried out on properties over 100 years old. You can get this carried out on your one, however it is usually the most expensive out of the three.